The owners of miniature Japanese vehicles are looking to a lawyer now for help. In February, we told you state lawmakers were considering a proposal to legalize miniature K cars.
The proposal failed, but the K car drivers say they're still fighting.
Thousands of trucks and dozens of communities are being affected by one silent order on Honda. They called it a clarification. What it really did, wiped out legal ownership with the stroke of a pen. You didn't vote for it. You weren't warned, but it's coming anyway. If you value independence, how you work, what you drive, how you live, this story matters. Stay till the end, because this crackdown reveals something bigger than policy. It shows what happens when unelected hands quietly rewrite the rules without ever asking permission. Legal in one state, banned in the next. In 12 American states, you can't legally drive a K truck on public roads, and yet they're selling out faster than ever. These miniature Japanese pickups, built for narrow alleys and rice fields, have found an unlikely fan base among American farmers, gig workers, and off-grid enthusiasts. But while one state will register your Honda Acti without a second glance, the next might cancel your plates, tow your vehicle, or fine you for driving it at all. The inconsistency is mind-bending. A vehicle can be road legal in Florida and contraband in Maine, all depending on who you ask at the DMV. The contradiction doesn't stop there. These trucks, often under 10 feet long and weighing less than 1,500 pounds, are among the most efficient vehicles ever imported. Most cost between $5,000 and $10,000, sip fuel, and are built like durable appliances. And yet they're being targeted as if they're a threat to public safety. It's not about performance. Most Ki trucks don't go faster than 65 miles per hour. It's not about weight. Many weigh less than a Harley-Davidson with 2 passengers. So what exactly are regulators afraid of? Buyers don't seem to care. Imports are rising. Dealers from Tennessee to Washington report growing wait lists. Facebook groups are exploding. And some buyers are making cross-state registration deals just to get plates. These aren't reckless teenagers. They're contractors, delivery drivers, and small-town mechanics trying to save money in a world of $70,000 full-size trucks. But the question remains, why is something so small drawing such big opposition? What most people don't know is that this chaos didn't start with the trucks. It started with a law passed more than 3 decades ago, the loophole that opened the floodgates. The explosion of K trucks on American roads didn't happen by design. It happened because of a loophole. In 1988, Congress passed the Imported Vehicle Safety Compliance Act, a sweeping protectionist law designed to block non-American vehicles from undermining the domestic auto market. The law required all imports to meet modern safety and emission standards. The only exception? Vehicles over 25 years old, which were reclassified as classics and exempt from those standards entirely. The goal was to let collectors import vintage Ferraris, not to unleash a wave of Japanese micro-trucks into America's work fleet. But that's exactly what happened. Enthusiasts realized the loophole didn't care whether the vehicle was a sports car or a delivery van. If it was 25 years old, it was legal. Companies started importing container loads of retired K trucks, many with under 60,000 miles. Mechanics loved them. Landscapers praised their maneuverability. Farmers found they outperformed ATVs and used half the fuel. Suddenly, a vehicle built to serve rural Japan was quietly solving rural America's transportation problem. By 2022, more than 7,500 KE trucks were imported into the United States in a single year. That number doesn't include the estimated 45,000 already on American roads, vehicles operating legally under state and federal exemptions. And as more people caught on, the loophole transformed from a collector's curiosity into a growing movement, one designed for practicality, not nostalgia. But history doesn't just repeat, it mutates. And in states like Maine, it turned legal owners into overnight criminals. If this part's already hitting you, hit the like button so more people see what's happening. Drop a comment if this is affecting your state or community. We're tracking this in real time. Your input builds momentum, and every voice here matters more than you think. How Maine made trucks illegal overnight. Nikki Bachelder went to work like any other Monday morning. By lunchtime, the state of Maine had classified hundreds of legally registered key trucks as off-road only, voided their tags, and revoked their legal right to exist on public roads. There was no press conference, no debate, just a bureaucratic directive. Owners received letters by mail informing them their vehicles were now considered unsafe under revised administrative guidelines. It didn't matter that the trucks had passed inspection. It didn't matter they were insured. They were suddenly unfit for the road. This wasn't lawmaking, it was policy laundering. The Maine Bureau of Motor Vehicles didn't hold a single public hearing. Instead, it cited updated interpretations of vehicle safety standards to redefine what could legally be registered. And unlike other states that simply stopped new registrations, Maine's move was retroactive. Owners who had spent thousands on reliable transportation found themselves holding worthless plates and a machine they could no longer drive. The irony, Maine still registers antique vehicles from the 1960s that have no airbags, no crumple zones, and no emission controls. A 1965 Ford pickup with no seatbelts? Legal. A 1997 Honda Acti with modern brakes and headlights? Banned. For many, it felt less like public safety and more like targeted enforcement. Bans don't need to come from lawmakers anymore. Sometimes, all it takes is a memo from an organization you've never even heard of. The nonprofit behind the bans, tucked away in an office building in Arlington, Virginia, is one of the most influential groups in American transportation. You've probably never heard of the American Association of Motor Vehicle Administrators, or AAMVA, but their fingerprints are all over the KI truck crackdown. They're not a government agency, they're a nonprofit, but what they publish is treated like gospel by DMVs and registration bureaus across all 50 states. In the summer of 2021, AAMVA released a best practices document. It recommended reclassifying imported mini trucks as off-road vehicles and warned against registering them for on-road use. The language was subtle, non-binding, framed as a safety advisory, but the effect was swift and far-reaching. State after state quietly adopted the recommendations. Registration clerks began rejecting applications based on AAMVA's memo. No legislative votes, no public input. Just a slow, methodical erasure of road rights for thousands of drivers. The genius of AAMVA's influence is its opacity. As a nonprofit, it operates beyond the reach of FOIA requests. It's not subject to public hearings or transparency rules, but its member base, state vehicle administrators, give it tremendous unofficial power. It's where policy happens without legislation, where regulation flows without resistance. And in the case of K-trucks, that quiet machinery was now in motion. But not everyone was willing to take it quietly. In towns and cities across America, a resistance was already brewing. Texas fights back and wins. In Texas, where big trucks rule the road and personal freedom is often the loudest political banner, key trucks faced what should have been a swift and quiet execution. In 2021, the Texas Department of Motor Vehicles began rejecting new registrations for imported Japanese mini trucks, citing vague safety concerns. The vehicles, once embraced in rural counties for farm use and mail delivery, were now being reclassified as off-road only. For many Texans, it felt like a minor paperwork change, but for the people who relied on these tiny trucks, it was war. The pushback came from an unlikely alliance: ranchers, landscapers, mayors, and delivery drivers. Led by the Lone Star K Association and activist M. Christian, they skipped lobbyists and called lawmakers directly. 180 calls later, their message was clear: we're not backing down. The campaign worked. Senate Bill 1816 passed with bipartisan support in April of 2024, overturning the ban. It was a rare grassroots victory. What began as quiet bureaucracy ended in a loud reminder: in Texas, the people still decide. While Texas fought back through town halls and phone calls, another battlefield was lighting up, online. Massachusetts goes viral. Massachusetts tried to pull the same move Texas had reversed, only this time under the radar. In June of 2024, without public debate, the Massachusetts Registry of Motor Vehicles issued a ban on KI truck registrations. Owners who had driven their vehicles for years without incident suddenly found themselves locked out. But unlike in Maine, this time the public was ready. News spread fast, and so did the backlash. Facebook groups exploded with new members. Suzuki Carry owners Matt Isgro and Mason Min led the charge, organizing public testimonies as mechanics, teachers, and small business owners turned frustration into a full-blown grassroots campaign. The tone wasn't polite, it was furious, viral, and digital. Photos tagged "banned in my driveway" flooded social media. Hashtags trended, Reddit tracked revocations live. The pressure worked. On September 18th, Massachusetts reversed course, temporarily, and promised to review the ban. Silence had consequences. The message was clear: if officials act in secret, the public will act in unison. The internet gave everyday people the power to coordinate, communicate, and confront the gatekeepers. And in Massachusetts, that power just cracked the walls of bureaucracy. But digital fury soon uncovered something even more unsettling. States weren't acting independently. They were following a script. One memo, 50 states. One memo. That's all it took. A document quietly authored by the American Association of Motor Vehicle Administrators began showing up in registration offices from Rhode Island to Pennsylvania to Massachusetts. On the surface, it looked like a set of suggestions. a best practices guide for how states should deal with imported vehicles that didn't meet modern safety standards. But dig deeper, and a pattern emerged. In Rhode Island, DMV Administrator Walter Creddick used the same wording found in Maine's ban. Pennsylvania echoed the same safety rationale. No laws changed, no votes were cast. Yet across states, key trucks were reclassified. Owners got identical revocation letters with just the header swapped. This wasn't improvisation, it was replication. The same policy was being rolled out across state lines, like a script written behind closed doors and mailed out for local performance. And it wasn't just K-trucks. Other imported vehicles, from compact diesels to foreign vans, were caught in the crosshairs. What made this especially unsettling wasn't just the bans. It was how easily they spread. With one memo, a nonprofit had created a playbook for legal erasure. And with no legislative oversight, state agencies had everything they needed to carry it out. Still, despite all the warnings and bans, sales didn't stop. In fact, something unexpected happened. More people started buying K-trucks. Why buyers keep coming? The bans were clear. The risks were public. In some states, you couldn't even get plates. So why are K-trucks still selling? Why are people still importing them, still posting reviews, still defending them online with near fanatical loyalty? The answer isn't ignorance, it's rebellion. For many buyers, it's not just about fuel savings or style, it's about autonomy. A K truck is the opposite of today's oversized, overpriced pickups. It's simple, affordable, and fixable. In a world of conformity, driving one isn't just practical, it's protest. There's also the economics. For under $10,000, you get a road-ready workhorse, cheap to fuel, insure, and repair. In cities, it parks like a bike. In the countryside, it outperforms ATVs. And for many, it means mobility without debt. Ironically, the bans have only increased the allure. They've made these trucks feel like forbidden fruit. Legal in theory, outlawed in practice, and defended by a passionate underground. Every restriction has only sharpened the identity of K-truck ownership as something bold and defiant. Not stupidity, resistance. That stubborn demand forced a deeper question into the spotlight. What was really driving this crackdown in the first place? Legal to import, illegal to drive. By all appearances, K-trucks should be legal. They meet the requirements of the 25-year import rule. They are registered under federal exemptions that allow them to bypass modern crash standards. They're inspected, they're insured, and yet, in 12 states, they are considered illegal for street use. This contradiction lies at the core of the crackdown. These trucks are federally compliant, but locally outlawed. The confusion comes from a tangled web of overlapping authority. Federally, vehicles over 25 years old, like K-trucks from the late 1990s, are legal to import without meeting modern safety standards. But once they arrive, state DMVs decide if they're road legal. Here's the trap. A truck can be legal to import, yet banned from the road. In Maine, Rhode Island, and Pennsylvania, DMVs reclassified K-trucks as off-road only. No new laws, no court rulings, just a quiet rule change that criminalized owners overnight. This kind of legal gray zone isn't just confusing, it's dangerous. When laws contradict each other across jurisdictions, compliance becomes a gamble. And for thousands of owners, that gamble has already turned into financial ruin. But legal gray areas are only part of the risk. What's coming next could bankrupt small importers, one truck at a time. The EPA threat still looms. The Environmental Protection Agency has remained largely silent during the K-truck debate, but that silence masks a looming threat. While states target these vehicles for road use, the EPA holds the real power to destroy their presence nationwide. With a single memo, if the agency decides that these imported trucks violate emission standards or involve tampered identification numbers, owners and importers could face enormous fines. The risk is real. Under the Clean Air Act, altering emission systems or misclassifying vehicles can mean fines over $37,500 per truck. K-trucks may be efficient, but most don't meet current U.S. standards. Their exemption isn't protection, it's a technicality. There's also the question of VIN fraud. Some states have reported inconsistencies in the vehicle identification numbers on imported K-trucks, especially where dealers modify or translate Japanese paperwork. If any part of the import process is deemed deceptive, the EPA could pursue civil or even criminal penalties. For now, the agency has not made a move, but importers are watching closely. All it takes is one enforcement action, one letter, one audit, one penalty, and the entire K-truck market could collapse. Owners who believed they had found a legal, affordable alternative could find themselves holding a vehicle the government now considers a liability. And while the government tightens the screws, one major player remains conspicuously silent: Detroit. Detroit's quiet victory. You won't see Ford, General Motors, or Ram issuing press releases about K-trucks. There are no lawsuits, no public outcry. But behind the scenes, their influence is unmistakable. The ban on K-trucks is a win for American automakers, not because they argued against them, but because they never had to. The strategy is simple: protect profits quietly. Full-size American pickups average over $70,000, padded with luxury trims and financing. K-trucks, under $10,000, low maintenance and long-lasting. They don't just undercut the market, they threaten its entire business model. If even a small fraction of buyers defect to K-trucks, it threatens the entire economic model. Rather than wage a public war against small imports, automakers have supported proxy organizations and administrative pressure. They don't need to ban the competition. They just need regulators to make it too complicated to own. And so far, the plan is working. Lobbyists aligned with automotive interests have pushed for safety reviews, emissions scrutiny, and stricter interpretations of roadworthiness. These efforts appear technical, even neutral, but their result is the same: a hostile environment for alternatives. While the public debates policy, Detroit quietly watches its position go unchallenged. Yet this isn't just a corporate chess match. It's a battle over personal freedom, and it's happening in your driveway. Losing the right to choose? The K-truck bans are more than a legal quirk. They are a signal flare for a deeper shift in how mobility is defined, controlled, and commercialized in America. In the name of safety, emissions, and regulation, we are steadily losing the freedom to choose how we move. And the real casualty is not just a category of foreign truck. It's autonomy. When the government says a 1,500-pound truck is unsafe, but a 7,000-pound SUV is fine, that's not science. It's bias. Ignoring real pedestrian risks while targeting K-trucks reveals the truth. This isn't about safety, it's about control. That vision is large, expensive, and standardized. You finance it, you insure it heavily, you don't repair it yourself. And you certainly don't import it from Japan for a fifth of the cost. The K-truck rebellion, small as it may seem, represents a broader rebellion against that model. It's a stand for practicality, creativity, and control over personal mobility. This fight isn't just for enthusiasts. It's for anyone who's felt cornered by rising costs, shrinking options, and a system built to serve the few. When you lose the right to drive something different, you lose the freedom to live your own way. But the consequences don't stop at car buyers. This quiet war is starting to reshape entire industries and even redefine what mobility means. Small trucks, big price tag. When K-trucks started making headlines and disappearing from DMV rosters, major automakers were already one step ahead. They saw the opportunity not to defend the right to drive small vehicles, but to sell you a substitute at 5 times the price. Ford pushed the Maverick. Hyundai rebranded the Santa Cruz. A company called Indigo rolled out a concept vehicle called the Slate, which looked like a K-truck but came with a $38,000 starting tag. It was small, on purpose, but it wasn't affordable. Modern car design offers fake choices. Small vehicles like the Maverick or Santa Cruz come with high trims, big prices, or limited availability. Even EV microvans include subscriptions and fees. Downsizing isn't affordable, it's a premium, marketed as accessibility. K-trucks offered simplicity. Automakers offer packaging. They saw real demand and turned it into profit. Instead of meeting needs, they manufactured scarcity, turning practical trucks into luxury items. Want small? You can have it on their terms, with their markup and their rules. While automakers milk the scarcity, labor organizers are starting to treat mobility as a basic economic right. Labor joins the fight. At first glance, K-trucks seem like a consumer issue, but dig deeper, and the battle over their legality has become a flashpoint for organized labor. Delivery drivers, gig workers, maintenance crews, and farmhands have long depended on low-cost utility vehicles to get the job done. When those options disappear, their ability to work efficiently and affordably disappears too. Now, some unions are drawing a line in the gravel. They see the ban as more than just a regulatory skirmish. They see it as a workers' rights issue. In Illinois and Michigan, transportation unions now back pro-worker infrastructure and flexible vehicle standards in contracts. In Oregon, farm labor groups condemned K-truck bans as a coordinated attack on affordable mobility. For labor, the road is becoming a fight for economic justice, and the fight is gaining traction. Groups like Mobility for All and Drive to Work are joining forces with mechanic unions and worker co-ops. Their message is clear: when access to vehicles is restricted, so is access to work. Mobility is now a labor right. The K-truck fight is now a litmus test. If workers can't defend their right to basic, functional, and affordable vehicles, what comes next? That's the question unions are starting to ask, loudly. And as workers line up behind the fight, something else is happening. The K-truck is becoming a cultural flashpoint, a culture war on wheels. It started as an obscure policy dispute, but the K-truck controversy is quickly transforming into something much bigger, a full-blown cultural and political standoff. In rural red counties, K-trucks are seen as the embodiment of common sense. Cheap, efficient, no-frills transportation. In blue cities, they've become a symbol of sustainable living and minimalism. But in the middle, regulators, lobbyists, and policymakers are quietly drawing ideological lines. Supporters call it safety. Opponents call it corporate capture. K-trucks have become more than vehicles. They're statements. For some, it's about freedom versus control. For others, it's federal power versus state rights. Either way, the fight goes far beyond the road. The alliances are surprising. Libertarians, environmentalists, socialists, and small mechanics are united, while establishment Democrats and Republicans back the bans under industry pressure. It's no longer left versus right. It's about control, who shapes the rules, and who gets left out. And like every culture war in America, this one is bleeding into the public square. You see it in hearings, you see it in city council meetings, you see it online, where K-truck memes collide with policy breakdowns in Reddit threads that read like manifestos. This is not just about cars, it's about identity. But at its core, this battle was never just about trucks. It's about who gets to shape the future and who gets left behind. If you've made it this far, you know this isn't just a story. It's a pattern, so hit subscribe. We're exposing what's next, where it's happening, and who's behind it. Stay connected, stay prepared, and don't let them change the rules without a fight. This isn't about trucks anymore. In the not-so-distant past, owning a vehicle was an expression of freedom. You picked the car, you fixed it yourself, you decided how it was used. That world is disappearing. Quietly, steadily, and deliberately, corporations and regulators are reshaping the boundaries of personal transportation. And you're not the one setting the rules. Today's cars come with kill switches, trackers, and locked-down software. Features are paywalled, engines sealed, data mined. You don't truly own your vehicle anymore. And with the K-truck crackdown, governments are now deciding what kinds of vehicles you're allowed to own. This isn't just about K-trucks. It's about precedent. If officials can ban functional vehicles as unsafe, what stops them from targeting classic diesels, EV conversions, or modified vans? It signals a quiet shift toward corporate-driven, bureaucratic control over personal mobility. And what's worse, you won't even get a say. The bans don't come through votes. They come through memos. They come through unelected boards and quiet policy shifts. They come with no warning and no appeal. If that sounds dystopian, it should. Because what's being erased here is not just a truck. It's choice. It's autonomy. It's the idea that you, and not a committee, decide what moves you. That idea is fading faster than anyone expected. And if you think you're safe because you don't own a K-truck, think again. The platform shift is already happening, and the next target might be parked in your own driveway. They're not just banning trucks. They're rewriting what freedom on the road looks like. If you care about choice, mobility, or just owning something that works without permission, this is your fight too. So subscribe now. Share this with someone who needs to know, because silence is how they win, and visibility is how we push back. This story isn't over, not even close. And the next chapter, it might take place in your own state. Stay ready.